Imagine you're applying for a job or just curious about how salaries work around the world, and you notice something. Offers in the United States and in Europe show completely different numbers. A marketing manager in the United States might see $90,000 on a contract, while a similar role in the European Union might show around $60,000 for the same position. And at first glance, it seems like United States wins easily. But then you start to hear that taxes are higher in Europe, healthcare is more expensive in the United States, and living costs vary from city to city. And suddenly comparing those salaries isn't that simple anymore. In this video, I'm not going to say that one side is better than the other. Instead, I will walk you through what's happening behind those numbers, how gross and net salaries compare in Europe and United States, how much tax and contributions people pay, and what their take-home pay looks like. And all of the numbers I'm going to talk about will be in dollars, because it's easy for everyone. And when I'll be talking about Europe, of course, I know that it's a big continent with different countries and different economies. I'll be mentioning Western European countries like Germany, France, or the Netherlands. And let's start with the obvious number, the annual gross salary. And for many professional roles, United States does offer higher pay for these jobs. And for example, let's take a marketing manager. Across the major United States cities, typical salary would be around $90,000. Let's think about Berlin, Paris, or Amsterdam. The average gross for the same role would be around $60,000, and that's around 30% difference for the same type of position. And if we look at the jobs at the technological sector like IT and so on, then the pattern here is similar. For a mid-level software developer job, a recent comparison showed that United States salaries in the range around $110,000, $184,000. And in European countries that were included in that study, the same mid-developer role showed that between $56,000 to $75,000. So on the contrast, the US salaries are higher. However, the gross salary is actually what company pays, not what you actually take home. To understand what a job means to you personally, you need to look at net income, the amount that arrives into your bank account after all the taxes and social contributions. And let's look at two concrete examples. One example is a marketing manager in Nashville, US, and another example is marketing manager in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. And both of them have similar responsibilities and comparable gross amounts if we convert that to dollars. In Nashville, the marketing gross salary was around $79,000 after US federal and state tax, plus Social Security and Medicare, and that comes roughly around $5,400 per month in actual take-home pay. And now moving on to Amsterdam, the marketing manager gross pay was $79,000, and after Dutch income tax and all other Social Security contributions, the net income in that study was $51,000 per year, and that is roughly $4,400 per month. So at similar gross levels, the US example gives us $64,000 per year, while the European example is around $51,000 after all the taxes and contributions. So at the end, US professionals end up with around $12,000 more in their hands at the end of the year because the government doesn't take that much as in Europe. But of course, that's only the salary part. We all know that we have to pay rent, pay for our insurance, and for other things. And let's compare that as well, because net amount is only matter in a context. A common estimate for basic monthly expenses for a single adult, including housing, food, transportation, utilities, and other essentials, shows a clear difference between the US and Europe. In the United States, the average basic monthly cost for a single adult is about $2,500, and in European countries, the average for the same basket of essentials is about $1,700. So on average, the person in the United States spends more each month on basic living costs. But let's apply that to our examples. As I already mentioned before, our marketing manager in Nashville has around $5,400 per month, and if we assume that their basic monthly needs, including rent in a mid-price US city, will be roughly around $1,200 to $2,600, then after paying for all the essentials, they will left around $2,700 to $3,100 per month. And our marketing manager in Amsterdam has around $4,400 per month. And if we say that their monthly basic expenses will be $1,600 to $2,000, then they have about $2,400 to $2,800 left. In other words, yes, the United States has more net income than in Europe after all the living costs. And of course, on top of that, we have healthcare question. As we know, healthcare is financed differently in all of the countries and even different in America across other states. And yes, in most European countries, healthcare is funded through high taxes and mandatory health insurance, but at the end the worker pays more in tax and social contributions each month, but later receives deeply subsidized or nearly free medical care. Out-of-pocket costs for doctor visits, hospital stays, and many treatments are low compared to United States, where even with employer-sponsored plans, many households pay several $100s a month in premiums for decent coverage and co-pays when they actually use the system. But that doesn't mean that each individual pays that amount, but of course it's just showing the gap. So again, if we come back to our two professionals, the American one has to set aside some amount for the medical bills, but our European colleague paid more upfront, but then faces much smaller direct healthcare bills later. And taxes and other social contributions are linked to other benefits. Many European countries take 30 to 40%, and even in some countries like Germany or the Netherlands, it can be up to 55% for your income tax. But these high deductions finance not only your healthcare, but also public pensions, unemployment benefits, and sometimes subsidized childcare. In the United States, combined income tax and social contributions often stay closer to 20 to 25% for similar incomes depending on the state, and this leaves more money as a net pay. And time is another dimension when we compare two different salary systems. In the European Union, legislation guarantees at least 20 paid vacation days per year. In practice, many employees receive 25 to 30 paid days off annually, not including public holidays. And in countries like Spain or France, total annual leave, including holidays, can exceed 30 days per year. While in the United States, there is no federal requirement for any paid vacation days. Many full-time workers receive about 10 to 11 paid days per year, and at the same time, weekly working hours tend to be higher in the United States. A noticeable portion of American workers report working 41 to 50 hours per week. In many European countries, contracts are closer to 38 and norms around overtime and work-life balance are stricter. So the important question is not who wins, Europe or United States. The more useful question would be, given these numbers, which system gives you personally more benefits and matches your priorities? If you care most about maximizing your income and you're comfortable taking more personal risk and responsibility, for example, for healthcare and your personal savings, a US-style offer can be more attractive. And if you care more about stability and things like guaranteed vacation, a European-style offer can make more sense for you. And whenever you do any comparisons between salaries in different countries, is to do the simple 4-step check. First, you need to look at the gross amount of salary. Then you need to calculate how much of taxes and contributions you have to pay in that country. And third, calculate the rent and living essentials for that city and that specific country. And fourth, think about other benefits like healthcare, vacation days, and working hours. And once you've done that, you are no longer comparing just simple numbers. You are comparing two actual lifestyles. And then you can decide which one fits for you better. And for me personally, I would say that I prefer US system more because I'm young and I can take more responsibility and more risk. But that's completely different topic that I want to talk about as well on my channel. So if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you like to see more content about salaries and personal finance, and I'll see you in the next one.